Welcome back to LA Fishguys, Part 3, Episode 108, the continuing saga of dealing with aquarium algae. In this episode, we've modified our algae scrubber, and today is our first visit back in 2 weeks.
Okay, we're here for a follow-up visit. It's only been a couple weeks since we installed the scrubber. I'm not expecting any significant decrease in algae at the moment. And the tank doesn't look that dirty for being 2 weeks. But let's take a look at the filter itself, more specifically the screen.
What we're hoping for is an abundance of algae growing on the screen. That would be an indication that the design is working and that those algae will be consuming nitrates and phosphates from the aquarium water.
Okay, let's take a look. Now we can see some algae definitely growing on the screen. Probably could use a little more water flow in there, but so far there's a fairly good amount of algae growing on the screen. So we're going to pull the screen out, we'll clean it off, and then we'll service the tank.
For the first attempt, I think we're doing fairly well at growing algae. I'd like to see a lot more there, but again, it's the first attempt. So let's go ahead and start servicing the tank. We'll start first by trading out the dirty corals with that clean set of corals. As with all of my aquarium service customers who use the decorative coral skeletons, they all have 2 sets. One that I'm able to bleach in advance to bring along to the new aquarium service. The old set, which has obviously been in the tank, is removed and in turn replaced with that clean set of corals. With all the old corals removed out of the aquarium, the water level in the filter below has dropped down to the point where the water pump is now beginning to suck air. We need to either turn the pump off or add some water back into the system. I've decided I'm going to add just enough water to stop the water pump from sucking air, because what I really want to do is get my hydrometer out and double check the salinity. It's situations like this where if you're not paying attention and you simply add salt water back to a system that's low on water, thinking that would be the most appropriate manner, it's actually not. Because the reason the water left the tank is most likely it evaporated. And when salt water evaporates out of a system, only the water goes. The salt stays. So in other words, your salinity increases because the salt never left the system. To resolve that particular problem, what you would do is add back fresh water, and that's what we're doing here. And with the coral decorations removed from the aquarium, we can now begin to clean the inside of the aquarium, more specifically the front panel. We'll be using our aquarium cleaning magnets to do so. Basically, the aquarium cleaning magnets are magnets encapsulated in 2 separate halves. The inside half has a Velcro type or hooked surface. The outside has a felt pad on it. The 2 magnets grasp each other with the acrylic panel between them, and as you move back and forth, the inside surface basically brushes or wipes the algae free from the interior panel of acrylic. These are really quite convenient and work quite easily, although sometimes it's a little awkward to try to get the magnets attached if there's a wall between you and the aquarium. That's usually where duct tape comes in. The other issue is as you're cleaning the inside surface, especially down near the gravel line, you could potentially pick up a granule of gravel. Once this becomes stuck inside the pads as you move back and forth with the aquarium cleaning magnet, you could be scratching the aquarium. It's usually not until after you've done at least 2 switchbacks or created a zigzag or a Z pattern, what I refer to as Zorro, across the face of the aquarium, before you realize that you're actually scratching the aquarium. So it requires attention to be paid when using the aquarium cleaning magnets, in particular down near the gravel line. we'll go ahead and use the cleaning pad on a stick and the hand pad to go and clean the inside panels of the tank. I'll go ahead and use the handle or stick end of the algae pad on a stick to brush the gravel away from the inside front edges of the aquarium. This way I can stick the filter pad or cleaning pad end of it down inside there and minimize the amount of gravel that I need to come in contact with, knowing that ultimately that pad is going to pick up some of those granules. So whenever you go to use that cleaning pad, always inspect it to make sure it's free of any granules that previously got caught inside there. Next, we'll go ahead and use our scraper. This scraper is made specifically for an acrylic aquarium. The blades do interchange and allow you to use a blade that's similar to a razor blade for glass aquariums. In our case, we're going to use this to try to scrape off the coralline algae that may be growing on the back side of the aquarium. Tropical Fish Hobbyist Magazine has been the authoritative source for aquarium keepers since the first legendary issue rolled off the presses in 1952. With informative articles month after month about the fascinating world of freshwater aquariums, saltwater setups, paludariums, ponds, and more, illustrated in crisp detail by the world's top aquatic photographers. TFH covers it all. And now, with subscriptions starting at $13.95 and a mobile digital edition you can take with you wherever you go, TFH is your ultimate resource for all things aquatic. Are you ready for the Marine Aquarium Expo this coming March 31st through April 1st of 2012? This is the largest aquarium consumer trade show in North America and a destination spot for marine hobbyists. Held at the newly remodeled OC Fair and Event Center and featuring over 100 exhibitors, speakers, demonstrations, and a huge product raffle. There's even a fin zone for entertaining young hobbyists. That's the Marine Aquarium Expo at the Orange County Fairgrounds this coming March 31st through April 1st, 2012, Saturday 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Adults $15, senior and military only $10, kids under 12 are free. For more information, visit marineaquariumexpo.com. You heard the phrase biopellets. But really, what are biopellets and what will they do?
But basically, what the biopellets are is they're a biodegradable polymer. The pellets, you put them in a reactor and they tumble in the reactor and the bacteria grow on the surface of the biopellet and they consume the biopellet, and as part of their metabolic process, they also consume nitrate and phosphate right out of the water. After about 2 weeks, the biopellets were activated and the nitrate started to drop. And you can see when you open them on the top, there's your little instruction sheet, and that's what the pellets look like, oops, when they're dry.
Biopellets and biopellet reactors are available through Reef Dynamics. Call 707-733-3411 or reefdynamics.com for more information. So here is our algae scrubber. This is the security light that we have on top of it. We'll remove this. We'll also go ahead and remove the lid off the Rubbermaid container. And note that we've turned the water pump off that sends water to our algae scrubber. And here is our algae scrubber screen. And you can see here, there's an okay amount of algae that's growing on there in 2 weeks. Now it's going to take a few weeks for this thing to become effective, so I didn't necessarily expect immediate results. What we do want to do is go through and scrape the algae off this screen, and that in turn is physically removing the nutrients that those algae have absorbed from the system. So let's take this, go outside and scrape it and clean it. But before we get too far along, let's also scoop out some of the algae that have collected at the bottom of the Rubbermaid tub. There's also a number of algae
growing inside our scrubber. And I think I'm going to go ahead and remove those as well. This looks like an abundance of hair algae. And this will also absorb some of those nutrients. And once again, as we physically remove these algae out of the system, we are physically removing algae or nutrients out of the entire system. So I've got this little credit card or conference ID badge, and I'm going to use that to scrape the algae from the inside here.
Knowing what I know now being obviously after I've filmed this particular episode, I understand that I could get a little bit more aggressive in regards to scraping or actually scratching the algae off that screen. It's been suggested that I could use the blade out of a hacksaw to actually try to get clear down to the nylon screen without getting as much of the algae off there as possible. The newer algae just grows back that much faster. That may or may not become an issue for you, as you will see in a future episode when I install an actual algae scrubber on my own personal tank. And with the screen adequately cleaned, we'll now return back to the filter room where we can reinstall the screen back into that scrubber.
And you can see we've cleaned that off fairly well, got most of the algae out of there. There also was a lot of algae that was building up in the little holes that I drilled in here, so we kind of rinsed that out as well. So let's go ahead and put that back in the system.
Looking back slightly, this being my first attempt at building one, I need to devise an easier way of getting that screen in and out. But once secured, I'll go ahead and plug the water pump back in.
And you can see we've got the water turned back on now, and the water is flowing across our screen. We'll go ahead and reposition the lid on there and place the light on top of it. And we'll go ahead and grow some more algae.
Based on what I see today and the results that we've generated, I think the area that I could improve in would be a much stronger light. Although that creates other potential issues, at least I can do two things. One, I can begin to clean that lens over the security light itself. The salt that does collect up there does block some of the light. And the other thing I could do is get another or new bulb. A brand new bulb will be significantly brighter than a bulb that may be 2 years old. And with the algae scrubber all cleaned and reassembled, we can now go ahead and begin to put the new salt water back into the tank. So that's the first visit in 2 weeks with the new algae scrubber filter. It hasn't eliminated the algae in the tank yet, but you can see it's beginning to work. I think I do need to replace that bulb with something a little bit stronger. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and put the decorations back in the tank. I'll see you on the next part. In between now and then, always keep moving forward.